Trapping plays a very important role in modern-day wildlife management. Professional wildlife biologists monitor fur-bearer populations to maintain a healthy and sustainable harvest of this important, renewable natural resource. Trapping provides recreation and income for licensed trappers across this country. The Fur Shed Series, brought to you by Who's Your Trapper Outdoors. Who's Your Trapper Supply, Leatherwood Creek Trapping Scents, HTS Productions, Who's Your Trapper Deer Scents, and Leatherwood Wildlife Art.
All right, October 16th. Jake and I came down. This is a fish and wildlife area here in Indiana, and it's by permit, draw permit. So originally I actually came down on the actual draw date, and fortunately had a good pick. And then after that, a couple weeks after that, they opened it up to any of the spots left over. Come down and pick two more, and then Jake could actually pick three more. So anyways, came down today to get our additional spots that were still available that hadn't been picked in the first draw. With fur prices being low, they had available spots still left on a high fur price year. You know, they wouldn't have those available. So anyways, we got to get back to the shop and get back to work, but we're gonna go take a look at just one pull in over here and walk down a little bit, and we'll kind of show you what we're doing. This is one of the few properties in Indiana that they allow you to land trap, so you can coyote trap in here, water trap, kind of run a definitely a multi-species trap line, which is kind of cool. So it's not a giant piece of property like what we're used to in other states, but because it's water trapping, there's plenty here. This area has kind of experienced a drought, so the water levels are not near what they would be on a normal year. But anyways, I'm kind of excited about it because it's the first time doing this, and just be a neat experience. So anyways, we'll get out and take a look at this. This is a big waterfowl hunting area here in Indiana. It's a multi-use property, so we're here primarily because of the muskrat trapping, the water trapping. But like I said, we can land trap here too, which is cool. So these levees between these marsh areas are coyote highways, I'm sure, and I've been told by other trappers that. So we'll definitely set those up, even though our main focus will be on the water trapping, but we're definitely going to do some land trapping here too. So kind of excited about it. We've got a couple visible muskrat huts over there in the background, and then that whole area over there is all cattails. So with it being dry, I'm assuming that there probably isn't much activity in there or any sign of them at all. But you know, once we get some frost on here, and might be able to visibly see what's going on. We can't come in here and trap until December 15th, so it'll be quite a while before that. So that water goes way up there, so we'll just see how it goes. There's some rat sign in here. I don't know if they're must be living in bank dens or whatever, but anyways, kind of excited about it. Just kind of working on some random stuff today. We're waxing some traps and dyeing and waxing some traps, and we'll show you that in a minute. One thing I did in here is I just took a 2x4 and cut slots in it and holes for the steels, sharpening steels, and got that set up. I may need to make another one though, because it seems like get knives and got more knives or whatever, so we may put another one down at the end of the other end there. We've got beaver knives and Dexter skinny knives and sharpening steels there. We are, one thing it's a good idea to do is go through and clean the wax off your dogs or your traps. Of course, these are these MBs that got these night latches on them, so that there's not a whole lot there, so that you need to try to get that wax cleaned off of there. and then I always like to clean it up from underneath the pan. One thing Justin was showing me is these JC Connor springs. When you wax them, on occasion they get bound up, and I cannot budge it, and he couldn't budge it either. And when you pull them, they should really compress, and it always amazes me how much a coyote can compress that. So I'm kind of assuming that a coyote could probably get that busted loose over some time, but I'm not going to take that chance. So we're just taking them and hitting them once, and then that's breaking them loose. But I mean, initially they were really on there. So anyways, that's something we're kind of checking when we're going through and cleaning the wax off the dogs and stuff. So we'll show you the waxing and dyeing here in a couple minutes. All right, we're running traps through the dye, and we're actually running brand new traps through. These have been through once. I mean, that's about all they're going to do. So essentially what we're doing is just getting the machine oil off of them. It's going to darken it up a little bit. You cover the trap up anyway, so I'm not going to lose any sleep over that being a little shiny. I'm not going to take the time to rust it up over, usually if you use them during the season, they're going to be plenty of rust on them once the wax gets worn off. I did use rusty chain on these, so that part took some dye, and then we'll gonna wax them here in a minute as soon as the wax gets melted over here, and we'll show you that. So I'm kind of on the tail end of it. Justin's got some traps in here right now. If you keep your dye pots covered up, they'll boil a lot quicker and stay simmering for you. It's real windy today, so we're having trouble with the flame. I need to get, there's a metal flashing that you can get it's probably 3 foot or 4 foot, and you can just literally wrap it around here for keeping the wind off your burner. So that's the reason this board is here, but I need to get some of that metal flashing to do that with, and that would take care of that problem. Wear old clothes when you dye traps, because you'll wear it. Another thing, and this is something to keep in mind, just out of safety's sake. This is on gravel, so we're pretty solid here. But a fella came in the shop last year, and he was actually limping, and he had his dye pot set up out in the yard, just like out in the grass, and it started tilting on him, and he happened to, when he was standing there, that dye pot literally fell over and burnt the back of his heel, and he had 3rd-degree burns. I mean, it was visit the hospital type burns. So you always got to make sure that you've got these things very well stabilized so that you're not going to run into that problem. Wax too, that's another whole issue. Those things, I've been around this a long time, so I've seen people that have had some terrible things happen with wax when they're trying to do it in their home. Burn their kitchen, all kinds of crazy stuff. So wax, it will catch on fire, and it's definitely dangerous. So we try to do all this stuff outside. Worst case scenario, if the wax went up, it's going to be out here. Not really too concerned about it in that respect, but anyways, we'll show you that in a minute, and once we get the wax completely melted and get the traps out of here. All right, this is how we wax traps. We've got the wax going here, and basically it's at a boil. And here again, you got to be careful with that. If it hits the flame, it's going to burn up the side or whatever. So, anyways, we put the traps on T-bars like this, and we're going to just drop them in there. It's a good idea to vary the traps. If you put them all on at the same length, in other words, if you put them all on at the end of the swivel or whatever, you got all your traps in one spot, and they get jammed up in here. So if you can vary your traps, so I just put them on different parts of the swivels, through the swivels. That way, when you go to pull them out, you can get them out of there fairly easily, and you don't have to worry about tipping that hot wax over on you, which would be really bad. So we're going to drop those in there. And the traps are nice and dry, because we don't have a bunch of foam and we don't have a bunch of boiling up wax. If your traps are pretty wet, you got to be careful doing that, because it'll overflow your wax for one thing, and then cause that actually to cook over. I mean, it'll take the water off of them. That's not a big deal. But it's just kind of dangerous. So I'm gonna leave those in there for about a minute or so. Let them heat up. The whole key on this is to leave those traps in there long enough for that trap to take on the same temperature as the dye. So if you don't,
your trap, the wax will look real just globbed up on there. So you just want the trap to look wet when it comes out of there. If you can leave it in there for a little bit, I think it helps permeate the metal a little bit. So we'll leave it in there a minute or two, take them out. I'll probably just drape them on these logs over here and let them set up. And while those are in there, we're just going to go ahead and start setting up more traps ready to go. Like I said, I'm going to vary my heights here. I'm putting on about 5 at a time. You can see I'm kind of all over the place here with the height of them. So I got those ready to go, and I'm going to put up another one, and we just keep rotating them. All right, this is still the same bunch of traps, and this has come back to a simmer. So I'm going to go ahead and pull these out. You see how they just look wet? And see how they just came straight out of there too? So I'm going to let them drip off here for a second. I got this board here. I usually kind of bounce them off like that, kind of get that excess wax off of them. And then I'm just going to drape them over here on these logs. And they'll set up. You could set up a, like a cattle panel or something and drape them on that. That works great. I've been doing it on these logs here too. So I've got three more bundles here ready to go. Like I said, these are just T-bar trap stakes. So we'll let that go a minute or two. And then I got 2 more, and I've got 2 more T-bars over here, and I'll just get these ready. You can run through, 200 traps in an hour. I mean, it goes really, really quickly doing it like this. So it's a bit of an investment to get this much wax to start with, but once you got it, you're really, in theory, you're not using that much wax. You just need all that wax to do all those traps in one shot. So it just, for me, time-wise, in this many traps, it pays to have that much wax going and just get through them really quickly.